Hi, I'm Chris Jurich with Vanguard Properties, top producing listing agent here in Marin County and the San Francisco Bay Area. I'd like to share with you a few details today. It's all about price trends, right? What I'm really getting to is, and I hope this is helpful, that it's important for sellers, especially to be in touch with the market and what market actually exists. Simply put, weekly, monthly, quarterly market trends are the three kinds of trends that we utilize in our local residential real estate market and the sales for analysis, right? And it's highly cyclical, but it's not predictable. And one of the issues with that is that we can identify trends most accurately by analyzing the weekly data. With time, we can report a monthly update, and that's a lagging indicator. And typically that comes out around, say, the 10th or 11th of the month. So once this data is cured, we can then produce something of a quarterly, or maybe even potentially a semi-annual, seasonal, or an annual report. That's, again, all lagging indicators, but it does produce sort of a base value from which we can predict more seasonal trends, because residential real estate, as I mentioned before, is so highly seasonal, especially in San Francisco, where we have a very strong spring and a very pronounced autumn. We're typically seeing the majority of all the sales sell between March and June, and again once after Labor Day starts in September 5th, September, October, November, and then a softening towards the winter months. Now, this will show up in our statistics, but on a weekly basis, whenever I'm working with sellers or buyers, I like to be able to produce the weekly trends. And these reports are something we're going to discuss today in this post, and I hope you like it. So what I'm going to do is share my screen, and we'll look at the details. When I'm out seeing properties, and I'm going to go ahead and run this more carefully for us. When I'm out seeing property, you may find it challenging to determine how is a $6 million home, custom built, spec home on the left, actually going to sell. Is it going to be average for the area or the zip code or the city? And when we look on the right, this 120-year-old property here, prime location, single family, 2 parking spaces and a preferred garage with interior access. Things like that don't necessarily always follow the trend every single month, because again, that's lagging indicators. We have to look on a weekly basis where we can more accurately determine the demand. And so weekly trends provide us unique insights, such as a particular type of property that is selling higher than usual or faster than usual, or the volumes of sale are low or high compared to previous months. And in turn, this may forecast a monthly trend building into a seasonal occurrence or a point of an irregularity. So what we saw in the amount of inventory during the months of 2020, for instance, was an oversupply of condominiums. But that left the city with homes that were eager to sell, and that took a while for that to kind of evaporate or dissolve into a regular, more normalized market, which is what we're seeing now. But how can we be sure of that? Well, again, as I said, we sort of set a baseline with our monthly and seasonal or annual. And if we look back on it from a weekly basis, are we getting back to a more normalized market where we were in 2019, 2020? And again, looking more specifically, if I can draw your attention here to this, active units had spiked up in the autumn, right around 914. And as we began to peak just last week, or maybe even the week before, we're now trending down on a weekly basis. So I share this data with my sellers because it's a much more focused fashion, a way in which we're going to rely on seasonal data to calculate what an average amount for a similar property type, or maybe the per sale or per month, how many properties like this are on, actively competing for that sale, so that we can actually be more specific when we understand what would be fair expectation for fair market value. I also share this with my buyers because it's important that we'll see trends happen quicker in a month, either an appreciation or a downtrend, that they should not necessarily be giving more money or expecting more competition if we are in a softening market. That being said, as we move through these types of things, I'm looking more specifically at Marin County, separate from San Francisco, and we have to parse even more specific than that. Here's where it gets fun. We can't really rely on a zip code or even a city. We're going to have to get into property type and a very localized neighborhood. And then we're going to look more on the property type and the neighborhood for comparable sales. And that's where we can really define what might be a fair expectation for what's happening in the market. And this is defined by monthly and weekly trends. So when we look at these M shapes here in this graph, over the span of 5 years in the South of Market area for both condominiums looking to be 2 bedrooms of approximately 1,500 square feet or less, we're seeing a very pronounced M formation. What that triggers is an understanding that in the winter it's soft, and in the spring there's a spike, summer it cools, a spike again in the autumn, and a trend to cool down in the winter. That was thrown off by the most recent 1 or 2 years of sales, but I bring that about because it's a perfect example of how we can estimate in a weekly fashion trends that spike up or down within the chemical. For the real estate practitioner, I think it's vitally important that you understand I'm going to be producing these blog posts that will be hopefully very helpful for you to understand what's going on in the market. And if you have any questions, you can always look at my Market Insights blog page. You can sign up for the emails. I'm also producing market updates, and those again are going to be on a more specialized local level, giving you either one of the 110 different sub-districts in San Francisco or any of the 15 municipalities in the 80 square miles of Marin County. While I don't cover everything perfectly, I'm certainly trying to help. If you have any questions, you can link below, and as well you can follow and of course request to subscribe.